Good morning and welcome to another show of the ZMC Business Hour. My apologies for the lateness. We are 14 minutes late, but we are in a pandemic. We are working remotely, and technology always is on the way it should be. So thank you for joining us this morning. It's been a very cold week, and we hope wherever you are, whichever part of the world you're joining us from, whichever time zone you are in, you are keeping well, you are keeping safe, and you are keeping warm. So we're in the middle of February 2021. We're approaching a year since we were locked down and since we were hit by this incredible pandemic. This pandemic has soared through the world. It hasn't discriminated on race, on gender, on religion, on anything. It's caused utter devastation. We've been through 3 lockdowns. We've seen economies collapse. We've seen big businesses go. And most importantly, we've had incredible loss of life. The government, early 2021, released a vaccine. And in fact, now they've released several vaccines. And on the 15th of February, we'll be on target to have administered 15 million jabs alone in the UK. Now, this brings up a lot of controversy. Many people have many views. Some are anti-vaccine, some are pro-vaccine. Many have had the vaccine, and many are refraining. There's been a lot of talk about Bill Gates. There's been a lot of talk about it not being fit for Muslims. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of myths, a lot of gossip about it, a lot of scaremongering, and then the government is obviously doing its part to try and encourage people to take the vaccine. Our own community, the BAME community, the Asian community, the Black community, we've been particularly afraid of taking the vaccine, and I've heard many horror stories of GPs calling families and booking appointments to come and take the vaccine. And being very rudely told off, and being told not to ring the address again. So we thought today we'll discuss this point, particularly for our Asian community who may be a bit reluctant. What is the truth? Can we take this vaccine? Shouldn't we take the vaccine? Is there a conspiracy behind it? Now, if we go back to March 2020, when the whole COVID pandemic actually kicked off, there was a lot of talk about 5G. We were meant to be being controlled by 5G. There was all sorts of comments and videos made and so-called professionals giving their professional opinion. But it appears that 5G has now vanished. But yet we're still here. We're not robots yet. Is it the same for the vaccine? Have we got people just causing conspiracy, or is there some truth behind this? Our guest this morning, I'm very delighted to say, and thank you for joining us. First of all, can I introduce Dr. Rahul Sahay, who's a GP, a private GP, and I believe your surgery is in Sutton, Coldfield, Dr. Rahul?
Thanks, Abid. Good morning to everybody. We have our NHS GP surgery, which is in Stechford, east of Birmingham, and the private general practice, which is in Sutton, Coldfield. Yes, so we've got two.
Fantastic. We have Dr. Ali Hamaad, who is a consultant cardiologist in Birmingham and Sutton Coldfield. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, sir.
Good morning, Abid. Hello to all the panel. I am a cardiologist, so my NHS practice is in Walsall Manor Hospital, but I also have a private practice in Spire, Little Aston, Sutton Coldfield, and the BMI Priory Hospital in Birmingham.
Fantastic. We have Shabir, a local entrepreneur, who was a recipient of the AstraZeneca vaccine last week, was it?
Pfizer, actually.
The Pfizer vaccine, and feels that it's his duty, being a local business leader and being from the BAME community, to raise this issue and talk about the vaccine and explain to people what his side effects were and what he went through. So thank you for joining us this morning, Jamil.
No, thank you, Abid, for organising this today.
And we have Amer Awan, again, a local businessman, a local entrepreneur, but somebody who's had first-hand experience the devastation caused by COVID. We all know he lost his great father Uncle Nazir Awan right at the starting of the pandemic. I think it was the 8th of April 2020, right at the start of the pandemic when everything kicked off. Amer has had first-hand experience with his father and then the medical staff in the hospital. So Amer wanted to come along and give his views and opinions. So Amer, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Abid. Good morning, Abid. Good morning to the panel, and good morning everybody joining in. And I think it's a very important topic to discuss, so I look forward to listening to everybody's views.
Fantastic. So our viewers this morning, please feel free to drop any comments in. I will try and get your queries and questions addressed. If anybody would like to pop onto the panel, anybody who's against the vaccine, anybody in particular, I would like to speak to people who've possibly had the vaccine and had an adverse effect, or somebody who may have lost a loved one after taking the vaccine. I'd be really interested to get them on. So please do share this feed. We're beaming live on Facebook. We're on our ZMC page. We're on my own profile, and we are on my YouTube channel. So please do share it. Please do comment. And please, if you know anybody who's been affected directly as a result of taking this vaccine, it'd be fab to get them on the show and hear their views. We've heard a lot of Chinese whispers. We've heard a lot of stories. My thread on this post last night went absolutely mad. There was a lot of debate, and it seems that people get very emotional about this issue. People get very personal about it, and people get very offended about it. It's not something we should be offended about. It's something that we do need to discuss, and we need to get to the bottom of the issue. Should we take the vaccine? Shouldn't we take the vaccine? What's in it? What are the long-term consequences? Yes, we appreciate it hasn't been tested, but it is a way out. So, Dr. Rahul, if I start with you first, what sort of reaction are you getting from the BAME community, and what's the uptake for the vaccine?
Hi, look, without doubt, there are reservations amongst the BAME community about the vaccine. But where we have found we've been able to see most success is actually when we've addressed those concerns, had open communication and dialogue with those community members. As we were discussing earlier on, some areas we've taken initiatives whereby we've actually gone into places of religious worship, given talks, engaged, answered questions. And also actually in Warsaw, a couple of the vaccination centers have been in mosques as well. With the leading figures from the medical profession locally, the imams and leading figures within the religious community. They've come forward to encourage people. And I think actually having that set up in a place where people are comfortable and familiar with has really helped. Plus also being able to come along and actually discuss concerns face to face has really helped as well. So the good thing is we're not taking an approach that just because somebody said no, we're not just kind of leaving it there. Look, we are exploring the reasons for why they've said no, or their concerns or their hesitations. And what we have found is in a lot of cases, if not most cases, by addressing those questions, busting some myths, people have then been more willing to engage and take the vaccine. And by no means are we forcing people. We're not twisting their arms. We're just trying to give them the facts.
Of course, Dr. Rahul, you bring up a really good point there right at the end. You're not forcing anyone. It is your choice. If you choose not to take it, even after you've had the consultation where your fears may have been allayed, but you choose not to take it, there's no force in this world, there's no law in this land that will force you to take it. And of course, you choose not to, that's fine by everybody else as well. But the point is not to take it based on fear of fake and false information that's being fed into the community itself as well.
Yeah, look, one of the key cornerstones as healthcare professionals is about helping people make informed decisions. Whether that's COVID, whether it's vaccine, whether it's related to the other medical health problems. Now, our job, and Dr. Ali will back up here, is our job is to give the information.
So, Dr. Hamaad, there's been a rumor that maybe the vaccine isn't halal, or it contains products which are not suitable for particularly the Muslim community. And I think a lot of the elderly generation in our community has been hesitant to take the vaccine because of this. And I've spoken to a few people myself, and they're saying, "Oh, it's got all sorts of ingredients in it." What would you say to them?
So what I would say is, firstly, it doesn't contain any animal products. It doesn't contain pork. It doesn't contain gelatin. These are the sorts of rumors that are propagated mainly through Facebook and WhatsApp amongst the community, where you then get this degree of hesitancy because as Muslims, we are absolutely forbidden from having pork products. But what I would say is an example of a country where the vaccination rate has been incredibly high is Israel, where I believe nearly 60% of the population has been vaccinated. And most of their population is of the Jewish faith, with a small proportion that are Muslim and Christian. They certainly wouldn't have taken any product that contained pork, or even that they consume only kosher products. They certainly would not have accepted, particularly amongst the more orthodox Jewish community, excuse me, products that contain pork or contain animal products that aren't slaughtered in the correct manner. So I think as doctors, we have a role to play in terms of, along with faith leaders, community leaders. But I think the main propagation of these rumors is the social media outlets and social media channels, and if they're not properly regulated, and if they don't close these channels and these groups down, or discredit them, then I'm afraid the rumors still continue to circulate.
So tomorrow, Monday, the 15th, the government aimed to administer 15 million vaccines, and it looks like they are on target and they are on course. 500,000 people have now had the second dose as well. Have you heard of any fatalities, or have you heard of anybody with any adverse side effects? I had the vaccine about 2 weeks ago. One of the charities I work with, we are Frontline, and I was offered the opportunity, and I took the vaccine. Yes, I was in bed for about a day with a I just felt a bit lethargic, but nothing more serious than that. And I put out a post yesterday on social media and today, asking for people who've had an adverse effect, or maybe someone who's lost a loved one, to come forward. And to date, I've had nobody respond. I've had people speculate, but nobody has actually come forward and said, yes, I have had the vaccine a month ago, I've been in hospital, I'm ill, I've had a stroke, or whatever it may be. Yet we're hearing all these rumors. Have you, as medical professionals, particularly Dr. Rahul being a GP, and Dr. Ali, being in the medical profession, have you heard or witnessed anybody having any adverse side effects?
I mean, just to share your own experience, I've had the vaccine, and same as yourself, bit of a headache, bit lethargic for a few days, but then, and that's the feedback we're getting from people and patients who are having the vaccine, is those mild, common self-limiting side effects. But in terms of serious adverse effects, hand on heart, I can say no. In a nutshell, the answer is simply no. And we've been vaccinating thousands in our own local area, and there's been no concern whatsoever.
I would also like to echo Dr. Sahay's point regarding the adverse events. I've had the Pfizer vaccine. I had it on the 10th of December, a couple of days after it was rolled out, because I'm a frontline healthcare worker. I've been treating patients who've been affected by coronavirus. So I received my first dose. I had no effects at all. What I would also like to say is, in the clinical trial, I'm talking about the Pfizer clinical trial, where they looked at 40,000 patients. This trial was conducted in what we call a double-blind fashion. So neither the doctor administering the vaccine nor the patient receiving the vaccine or the placebo knew what they were receiving. And actually, people who received the placebo also reported things like headaches, feeling a bit lethargic, in a similar proportion or a slightly lower proportion compared to the people receiving the actual vaccine. And that shows that I think the psychological effect of receiving a vaccine may have an impact on having and people experiencing some of these symptoms, when in fact people who received what is effectively water also had lethargy, headache, side effects.
I think there's a mental.
I must confess, I think I was a victim of that. I have an incredible phobia of needles. Just the sight of a needle makes me cringe and faint. So I'm not sure whether my reaction was down to the vaccine or the actual experience of having a needle put into my arm.
It's funny you should mention that. There was a
part of that. I'd also say is probably all these scaremongering tactics that you've probably heard on social media prior to having the vaccine, and it's probably make you think, well, what's going to happen to me? I think that's partly what made you feel that way. But 15 million people having had the vaccine now. That's a lot of people having had that. A lot of people, yeah. And really,
so Ahmad, if I can come to you, I mean, you were one of the early victims of this pandemic. Your family was one of the very early victims, and you lost your father, unfortunately, and you went through the whole hospital and the funeral and the burial and all that as a family, and even today you are still suffering the consequences. What do you say to people who are encouraging other people not to take this seriously and not to take the vaccine?
Well, it's crazy, really, because I mean, initially when we lost our father, it was the very first people to go. I mean, in April last year. So, I mean, it really affected us as a family, not just us as a family, but the whole community, all the people that knew him. And it wasn't just him. We lost a lot of people in the community due to this pandemic. So you've got to understand that there was something very seriously wrong. There was a reason why this was happening. And the same people today who are putting people off the vaccines are the people who are in denial about the pandemic. Now, there's a reason why there was
pandemic, from what I understand.
Yeah. There's people who are passing away even now in January.
So if I can just butt in there, somebody said, what medical credentials have Jimi and Amer got? Now they haven't got any, and as I have said time and time again, I would invite anybody who would like to come onto the panel and discuss or argue against the vaccine. We have two medical professionals on the panel, highly decorated, highly experienced, two medical professionals. We have Shabir, who has come on as he had the vaccine last week, and he was outraged at the backlash he got on social media when he put the post up. And then we have Ahmad, who's lost a loved one, lost a dear one, and again feels outraged at what he's seeing on social media and all the scaremongering. If somebody would like to come on and present their case, this is not a one-sided show. We are not promoting any particular thought. We just want to get to the bottom of the scaremongering. Is it really scaremongering, or is there some truth in it? Is this vaccine actually not good for us? Is the government doing a conspiracy? Is there something behind this? Because we've heard all these stories, and we've seen all these YouTube videos that have been sent from an uncle to an auntie to an uncle, but they're not consistent, and they're not authentic. I think the word is authentic. Similarly, when we had the 5G issue, we were seeing videos of God knows who
5G
telling everyone that the world is over. And I think one of the stories was the 5G, the whole fear mongering got to Pakistan. Pakistan has just about discovered 4G, let alone 5G, and yet it's just scaremongering. So I would please share this video, and if you've got anybody who knows what they're talking about, who would like to come onto the panel, please, I encourage and invite everybody. Please do come on. Sorry.
Just because me and Jamil are not medical professionals, yet we live in the community. We see the people from the community. We've known many people who have passed away. These people are who are being told that COVID doesn't exist. Now they're being told that this vaccine is haram. This vaccine is terrible for you. This vaccine will kill you.
So I have a question from Shakil. A question to the doctors. are you willing to indemnify and compensate those who you promote the toxic experimental medical concussion in the event of serious injury or death?
What a question to ask. Would you indemnify someone from not taking it as well?
Now,
if your advice leads to someone's death because you told them not to take it, would you indemnify them, their families as well? I mean, what a utterly disgusting question to ask of professionals who are doing their jobs. It's the government legislation that allows it, doesn't allow the indemnification.
I would say that we can't personally indemnify against individuals. We have our own medical indemnity as practitioners, but in terms of administering a vaccine, the government has a vaccination compensation scheme, which has been running for many, many years, where not just this vaccine, but any vaccination program that's given as a public health service to reduce the incidence of a disease, and this goes back as far as conditions like measles, polio. We've been through many, many different pandemics or epidemics over the years. The government will honour and will provide compensation to anyone who suffers death or serious disability as a result of an adverse reaction to the vaccine. So there are protections, financial protection in place for people, because it's in the government's interest to make sure that people don't get these illnesses that are then spread throughout the community. And COVID has had a devastating impact. I'm sure Dr. Sahay will also back that up.
Yep, no, 100%. Completely agree with you, Dr. Ali.
So my apologies, I've got 3 screens going on. We've got 3 feeds going on, and I'm trying to get comments from all of them and trying to channel them back here. So again, I would encourage everybody, please share the feed. If you're watching us from YouTube or any of the Facebook feeds, please do share them, and please do put your comments, your questions in the comments section below. So I have a question from Suhail. Does the panel think that people are more concerned with the long-term effects? Is there any guarantee that there will be no long-term effects? If they cannot guarantee this, then it is disturbing that people are being encouraged to take the vaccine. Now, if I can just add to that question, if you don't take the vaccine, what's the alternative?
I mean, I think this question's been asked a few times before, and it's quite widely debated as well. Regards the long-term effects of the vaccine, and this is where the doctors will come in as well. But from what I've read, is the effects of the vaccine will be apparent in the first few days, if not first few weeks, and so that's already been tested for. And so we don't know what the long-term effects are. But then you can look at that with any vaccine, and I think the same question can be asked as well. But the long-term effects from somebody who contracts COVID. We already know en masse there's people with long-term respiratory issues now. Lungs are being damaged. So the long-term effects of not taking precautions or not protecting yourself, or maybe not even taking the vaccine, will possibly have an adverse reaction, adverse effect on your health anyway.
It's very surprising. I mean, last night this thread was going crazy. 12:30 at night. This thread was going crazy, and a lot of people promised to come on. I invited them as a guest on the panel to come on and present the case. Now, what's astonishing me, they're nowhere to be seen. It's really frustrating, because they present a very good argument behind the keyboard, but however, they're not prepared to come on screen.
I deal in websites, by the way. You can put up as much information as you want with innuendo and website content with no context whatsoever, and make it the truth. But come online, debate it properly. We're here to discuss it. By the way, again, I'm no medical professional, like Amer said. My purpose of being here today is to tell people it's your choice, but make your own choice yourself. Don't be persuaded by myself. Don't be persuaded by other people. Persuade yourself based on your personal situation, and that's it, really. But don't be dissuaded.
So I have a comment here that Dr. Michael,
Oh, the
Dr. Michael
Pfizer.
Yaden, the former chief scientist of Pfizer, opposes the vaccine, and he says that the pandemic was over on the 12th of May 2020.
So where's all the deaths come from?
That's why we had 117,000 people dead date. We've had more people die in this lockdown, during this lockdown, than we had in the first lockdown. Of course, he would say it's over. He's obviously he's not relevant anymore.
Right. Okay. So regular treatments are being set back by COVID. Are the medics finding this? My friend has had his chemo set back by COVID. Is the cure worse than the disease, Dr. Hamaad?
So, is the question, if I'm understanding it correctly, is that people who've had COVID then have their treatments postponed? Is that the question, or?
Yes. What they're saying is that obviously the hospitals are so overwhelmed by COVID and getting this vaccine out that every other treatment is being sidelined. And obviously people are suffering. People with heart conditions, cancer, and various other conditions are suffering. And actually there may be a lot of truth in that, because I've actually witnessed this as well. And what they're asking is that, in the balance of things, is it really working out?
So I think there's two elements to that point. The first is, if you have a heart attack, God forbid, anyone has a heart attack, they should seek emergency advice and help by going to hospital, because they will be treated. There won't be any delay in them being treated. In fact, the harm that they cause by staying at home, and we saw that during the first lockdown and this lockdown, particularly in the first lockdown, where people simply weren't going to hospital and were presenting late with certain conditions. It is true that other hospital services have been stretched. So, for example, diagnostic tests, ultrasound scans, there's a delay in getting appointments for, but the delay is because the health service has now been overwhelmed, in that there's been a lot of staff off with sickness, but COVID itself has caused a huge impact on the health service in terms of affecting staff, asking staff to be deployed to cover other areas, and as a result, there will be some effect on elective services and elective operations, particularly, I believe, in the London area. But emergency services haven't really been affected. If someone has a heart attack, they will be treated exactly the same as if they presented, 12 months ago. So while there has been some effect on the health service, a huge effect on the health service, people shouldn't consider that their treatments delayed unnecessarily as a result of coronavirus.
Yeah, and I'd concur with that. So, this is where we kind of draw the distinction between routine care and urgent, necessary, or emergency care. And things like cancer treatment is still going on. Certainly, every department, whether it's could be dermatology, skin specialists, or kidney specialists, they will have clinics which are their cancer clinics or the urgent clinics, and then they'll have the more routine clinics, which are for follow-ups maybe, or for problems which are not necessarily important. Of course, everybody's medical problem is important, but is not having any negative impact right now on that particular individual.
Okay, I must ask the medical professionals, and I'm going to put you both on the spot here, and I need you to be honest and truthful about this. Have you signed a gagging order? And I really need to ask this question, because people will say that you didn't ask the question, and I don't like going around. I like to be direct and straight. Have you signed a gagging order? Are you fearful that if you speak up against this vaccine, you may not have a job at the end of this interview?
I'm sure there's a humorous answer to that, but the honest answer is I've not had any telephone calls, any emails, any messages from anybody, higher authorities, anybody saying don't say anything.
Are you here today by your own will, or has somebody coerced you into what to say or anything?
No. Have you been paid by Big Pharma at all? Are you on payroll?
No, I mean,
given any commissions at all by these guys?
So just as a indemnifier, I don't own shares in Pfizer. I don't own shares in AstraZeneca. I don't own shares in anything. Actually,
brilliant shares to buy into right now.
But sorry,
These are the same. I bet this is the same people, who are against the vaccine, who don't believe in COVID. These are the kind of things they're portraying to the public, that hang on, these doctors are on gagging orders, they can't say certain things. Where are these doctors? Why aren't these doctors coming forward? Do they really care about the professional, about their income and all that? What about what the duty of care they own to people out there? If this really was the case, surely a doctor would have come out in public and said something.
100%.
And again, I will put it out to the audience again. If you know anybody who's been affected by the vaccine, it's an open platform. We have another half an hour to go. Please come forward. Let's get them on the panel. And anybody who's making comments at the moment, if you want to come onto the panel, honestly, feel free. Drop me a message. I'll send you the link, and you can come onto the panel. We need to get to the bottom of this. We don't want to hear Chinese whispers. We don't want to hear that you heard off your cousin, off your, of your family, or your friend, or friend of a friend. We want the actual truth. Now, I'm going to ask the doctors another question. Are you getting paid to promote and administer the vaccines? Because I've heard that you're getting £300 per jab.
Like, I'll probably be able to answer this question. So the way this whole thing is working is, to be honest with you, I think people even lost track of the finances around it. But when the whole vaccination program was being rolled out, it was, per injection, there was funding for £12.50 per injection or something like that. And also,
but why was that? Because if you're a GP, you're getting a salary anyway. Why would somebody pay you extra to administer a vaccine?
Okay, so one thing to clarify: it's not the GPs who are being kind of paid extra for this. So this essentially, because obviously we have our day-to-day clinics, we have our day-to-day reception, we have our day-to-day things that we see. So this actually is a program which is being delivered over and above the duty that we have anyway to our patients on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so a lot of extra resources have had to be kind of gathered and put together in order to deliver this program, alongside making sure that we're continuing our day-to-day care to our patients as well. If I'm honest with you, number one, please just ingrain this in your mind. This is in no way a profit-making exercise. If anything, a lot of practices will actually be kind of financially less well off, because they're allocating their resources to the vaccination sites, and then they're having to fill those gaps, either with their own staff doing extra hours or calling in additional doctors and so forth. Even in the vaccination centers, if you walk into one, you'll see tens and tens of volunteers. Yeah. So, I mean, the funding from the government probably isn't even enough to cover the cost of delivering this kind of program. But there's such a lot of goodwill out there, and with a lot of volunteers, what people are, it's actually being able to deliver what it's supposed to be able to.
And I think this is where it comes down to, Dr. Rahul, where you actually owe a duty of care to your patients, don't you? This is the thing behind it. The whole reason behind it is owing a duty of care. Similarly, me and Jimi are here because we feel that we owe a duty of care to our community and to educate the community, because the community is misinformed by a lot of information that you see on social media, getting people think that's going to change your DNA, it's going to change this, it's going to change that, it's harm, whatever. Because we live within the community and we know the wider range of the community, it's a duty of care that we owe to the community to get vaccinated, to get over this pandemic, to get out of the lockdown so we can get back to some sort of normality. Or are we not going to get vaccinated and be stuck in this rut for the next 12, 24 months? We don't want that to happen.
And I suppose, as you say, Ahmed, if we don't take the vaccine and if there isn't a sharp increase in uptake in the vaccine, they can't really open up. They can't really ease the restrictions. But despite that, people are still refusing the vaccine. But the longer you refuse it, and the longer it's not safe for everyone to go out, the longer we're going to remain in this lockdown. And it's been 12 months now.
It's been 12 months. And we know that we're not fully protected against COVID. We can still get COVID, even though we have the vaccine, but we're not going to get the full brunt of it. Now, I'm telling you now, you don't want to go and see a patient suffering from a full brunt of COVID. I wouldn't personally want to be in that situation. I've seen my father in that situation. I've seen many other people.
Can I just ask you, Ahmed, particularly you, because you've been through, the GPs, okay, they're getting paid. Do you believe that COVID is real?
Of course I believe it's real. I mean, I went on to a COVID ward during the height of the pandemic. And I saw the nurses there, you know, fully in their dress. I walked onto the COVID ward, but I had to be fully dressed myself. And it's not a pretty sight to be on. You know,
but many say that it's just pneumonia, or it's a flu. How do you know it was COVID?
It's a flu-like symptom, but you know the effects what COVID brings on. It brings on the pneumonia, it brings on respiratory problems, similar to pneumonia, but this is a harder case. Now, pneumonia's been around for many, many years. People die. Why have we had such an influx of so many people who have passed away, not just in this country, but all over the world? I mean, the figures speak for themselves. It's ridiculous. There's certainly got to be something that's killing these people. I mean, how can you say COVID is not real?
The shocking thing, Amer, is that, you know, very at the start of this, it was coined as a pandemic. You know, then the cause was 5G. I mean, the reality of it is, it's a real thing. It's worldwide. It's not concentrated in one location. It affects people with underlying health conditions. Somebody with a health.
Oh, sorry, I've just had a comment. The chap's not on. He's not on. For some reason, he's not on Facebook. But I've just had a message that somebody's granddad died from the vaccine. Now, if I could just make a point here myself, I know an elderly lady who was over 100 years old, 100 or thereabouts, had the vaccine on the Monday and passed away on Thursday. Now, that death wasn't treated as a direct result of the vaccine, and it was treated by natural causes. Now, the vaccine was obviously initially administered to people who were over 80, then over 70, and now they've gone to the 65s. So this gentleman, unfortunately, it's a sad, you know, every loss of life is sad, allegedly lost his granddad from taking the vaccine. Dr. Hamaad.
It's a sad fact of life, but elderly people do die of other things. The 100-year-old lady that you mentioned, people, you know, are very lucky to reach the age of 100, and when they reach that age, they're going to be very likely to die of something. The fact that they were administered the vaccine is probably just coincidental. Similarly, would you argue that someone who's had the vaccine, who then gets hit by a car 2 days later, do you think the vaccine was responsible for causing them to be hit by a car? The answer is quite obviously no, they're not. So there's a lot of speculation here that, you know, an event that occurs after a particular event, the two are linked, when they're not necessarily linked. Older people have lots of health conditions, and they will pass away as a result of those health conditions. And the older someone is, the higher the likelihood of them actually succumbing to other illnesses.
I've just had a message from Majid Waris. He says, "Ask those who have lost loved ones. It's real. His brother passed away last week at the age of 50. He left behind 3 children and a family." Emotional. And I mean, the UK now, I mean, what's the death rate now? It's 117,000 deaths. 117,000 deaths. That's no small number. And Amer, Amer can confirm, how it devastates families and the complete destruction it causes.
Well, I've a lot of these people have actually spoken to me. They said, "Oh, do you know how many people die with flus and colds and pneumonia every year? The number's about the same." I said, "Well, is it? I can't see the number being. That's ridiculous. How can you make an assumption that the number is exactly the same?" Yes, people do die with these illnesses, but look how many people died in COVID. This is just a ridiculous amount of number. Before this COVID and everything happened, we had a doctor who came to see us. He said, we are looking at about 1,000 deaths a day. And we can't believe that.
Just give me 1 second. Kamaljeet, I'm sending you a link in your messenger. If you click onto the link, it will allow you into the studio. Kamalpreet Singh. Just check your Facebook Messenger. I've sent you the link. If there's anybody else who would like to come on, please, you are welcome. This is not a one-sided show. We want to give both sides the opportunity to present their case. But no, it's got to be a educated and a civilized discussion.
I mean, just on the point that Dr. Hamaad made as well. You know, I said in my post right here last week that the vaccine is not a miracle cure to cure all your other illnesses. Unfortunately, if you've been suffering from cancer, diabetes, or any other life-limiting disease, right? Not that like diabetes is a life-limiting disease, by the way, I'm just saying. But you can't stop people from dying from those things, unfortunately. You're just not going to get affected by COVID. And just to be clear, Pfizer itself, when you take the vaccine, takes 12 days for it to start taking effect itself. So, you know, unfortunately, you have no protection for 12 days.
Right, okay. I'm just going to let Kamalpreet Singh in now.
Hi, Abid.
Kamalpreet, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Abid. Can you give me just a minute? I just need to set up a few things because I just joined, right?
And I suppose there's another thing, just adding on to what Jimmy said. Well, actually, no. Let me ask the doctors. Doctors, these vaccines, are they cures or are they prevention mechanisms?
Oh, sorry. Go on, Dr. Sahay.
No, I was just going to say, this is something I often quote to my patients. In medicine, there are very, very few things that we cure, right? Most things we just try and manage, we reduce the impact of those things. And I think the same is true with the vaccine. Okay, this is not a cure for COVID-19. Here we are endeavoring to reduce the impact of COVID-19 amongst the local population and across the globe. So these are efforts to try and get the situation under control. It is not a cure.
So I would say exactly the same. And the analogy I give to patients is that imagine your body is like a castle and COVID's an invader. And your castle's got a few soldiers that are ready to fight against any sort of invaders that are coming in. What happens with someone who's not vaccinated is the soldiers in your castle don't know how to fight these invaders. So the invaders come in and they take over the castle and they cause lots of damage. What the vaccination does is it trains those soldiers to recognize what an invader is, and when it sees them, it fights them. So the invaders could come into the castle, but they will be eliminated much quicker than if they didn't recognize them. And that's how the immune system works. What happens is the vaccine trains your body to recognize this invader, and it trains.
So to our viewers that are watching us from the ZMC Network, you may be cut off very shortly as we have program scheduled for midday. If you are cut off from the ZMC Network, please do pop along to my personal profile or pop along to my YouTube channel. We will continue. We've just had a guest join us as well. We're keen to listen to their views. If there's anybody else who'd like to pop along or jump in, Shakil, my friend, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Pop along. And let's have this debate. We have medical professionals here. We have business community people here. We have people that have had the vaccine. We've had, and we have people that have been directly affected by this pandemic. We have. I'm getting some. Okay, so Kamalpreet, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Abid. So I'll telling. So how much time do I have to put my?
Just pop along, and we'll just start. We'll start asking questions as you're speaking, if that's okay.
Great. That's great. Okay, so just give me 5 to 6 minutes to let my view come forward, and then you can ask questions. So I am Kamalpreet Singh, and I am a part of the network of influenza care experts, which is a team of about 500 experts of influenza, and we are under the supervision of Dr. KB Thumane. He's a pulmonologist with 33 years of experience as a lung specialist, and Dr. Bishwaroop Roy Chaudhary, who is a medical nutritionist. So we have about 100 medical health professionals, which range from medical doctors, from homeopaths, from Ayurvedic medicines, and also nutrition specialists. So the fact of the matter is that we have cured about 50,000 patients of coronavirus only with three-step flu diet protocol and symptom management techniques.
Can I just ask, were these patients tested positive in the UK?
No, this is not UK. This is for worldwide.
Okay, worldwide. And these patients were all tested positive?
Majority of them, yes. We have the data. The book has been published. So it was published when we cured 5,000 patients. Then we published it again when we cured 50,000 patients. So data is available. Books are there in English and Hindi. I can send you that after this. So the surprising thing that we found was that we did not charge them medical expenses. It was a free service for all of them. It was a voluntary service. And also we did not give them any drugs. Zero medicines were given because we believe in drugless therapies, right? And the most interesting fact was none of them died. All of them are alive and healthy. So there are 0 deaths in out of 50,000 people. So the data is published and you can read it also in English as well as Hindi. So what we found out was that this was not a lethal virus. Exactly what CDC says, that CDC report says 99.97 is the survival rate of this virus. That means if 10,000 people gets the COVID virus, out of that only 3 are going to die. If 1 lakh people get that, only 30 are going to die, which is not a pandemic, not a medical pandemic. WHO changed the virus guidelines, pandemic guidelines in 2009 and making pandemic to be a new disease that spreads, and they cut out the condition that many people should be dying at least 6 times more than that. But we will come to that later. So the death rate, mortality rate that CDC mentions is 99.97, which is 3 out of 10,000. And if we talk about the Serology Institute in India, it says that the death rate is about 0.08. That means much less than what CDC says. So now we talk about the transmission rate. So rate of transmission is about 1.2 to 2.2 depending on what statistics you're looking at, which is exactly same as the ordinary influenza virus. So this is no different than an influenza virus in terms of rate of mortality.
Can I just put in there now all the figures you are giving and all the background you are giving? I totally appreciate that. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The government statistics that are published.
Yeah.
I personally, and I'm not a medical professional, I'm just a normal layman. I don't really take much notice. But what I do take note of is the people in my network and the people in my community and the people that I know who are suffering immensely. Now, I've personally been talking to sufferers on FaceTime. Because obviously you can't meet them. And when you see their conditions, and see the pain they're going through, is horrendous, and it rocks your soul.
Right.
So fantastic in what you've done, but what's the point you're trying to make? This vaccine, do you believe is correct? Do you believe it's incorrect?
So
what are you trying to get to?
Yeah, that's a great question, Abid. And before we come to the vaccine, I need to answer this question that you raised, that when you see people in horrible conditions, why is that? So I need to answer that first before we come to the vaccine. So give me a few minutes about 3 minutes to explain what I have to say about this, why they're in horrible state. So first of all, the government statistics, if we look at it, I will talk about India and USA because I know about that and they have the highest death rate. So in USA, there was a guideline passed in April of death certificates in which the doctor can put COVID-19 as a cause of death if he suspects COVID symptoms, right? And India, there was a 10th May guideline by ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, which says if the doctor suspects COVID-19, even if it tests negative, then also he can put COVID on the death certificate, because there is, when you say asymptomatic is also a symptom of COVID, then everyone is a COVID patient anyway. So if someone dies from any disease, they become COVID patient. So the doctor on the panel right now said that the lady who got the vaccine died because of coincidence. So when someone receives a vaccine, they die of coincidence, but someone who has diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, they die of COVID, then they are not dying of the heart disease, they are not dying of cancer, they are not dying of diabetes, they are dying from COVID. So this is so fascinating and surprising how doctors are pushing these things. Now come to the real point. I am not sure about the statistics of UK, but the question that was asked, that why they are facing so horrible state of affair, is because of the experimental drugs. Now we talk about the drugs. When the pandemic started, WHO started experimenting drugs on people, which were anti-malarial, anti-HIV, antipyretics, also including remdesivir, favipiravir. These are all experimental drugs. So when the hospitals say that they do not have any treatment, then why are they trying experimental drugs on people? Now what happens is, the solidarity trial report of 15th October by WHO says that out of 100 people, 12% people will die if they are experimented with these drugs. That means if 10,000 people receive these drugs, 1,200 will die. Whereas if they get the virus, only 3 will die. So what is the point of the matter is remdesivir is killing people, and 80% people suffer brain damages from this. This is official data from the WHO trial. So these drugs are causing the real problem. Now what happens is, whenever you take a synthetic drug, when it goes inside, your mouth has a mucosal immunity, which is the first line of defense. Now when you take that drug, it starts killing your good bacteria also, as well as bad bacteria also. Now when it goes, now what happens is, when a pathogen invades you and you take that experimental drug, now that drug has caused your good bacteria that is going to fight the virus is already dead. Now the virus goes in the lower respiratory tract and it causes.
Listen. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
interrupt you there. We the whole medical process of it all. I mean, the NHS in the UK has 1.3 million staff, and I'm sure they are more than capable of finding out what happens. What I want to know from yourself is this show is about the vaccine. Should people take it or shouldn't they? And if they shouldn't, why shouldn't they?
I think
I've got Shakil waiting in the waiting room, and it's about to go. Well, no, where's Shakil? Sorry.
I will just give 3 points. First point is, we have seen 50,000 patients recover from this virus without any drug, without a single death, without single expense, without single drug. So they can just use a 3-step protocol to save themselves from any flu: HIV, Zika, chikungunya, dengue, malaria, and COVID. So they can save themselves from that, first of all. So they don't need really a drug. Now we talk about the vaccine. It is very dangerous, and I will not give my explanations because I will just refer 2 books to you.
No, you can't say that. No. You can't say. No. You've used my platform as a marketing tool for yourself, which I totally appreciate, and I'm good with that. This is a business show. However, I really, you can't make a comment like, I won't give my explanation, because we have medical professionals on the panel.
Okay.
Please,
can I just
last
correct
night you were very vocal on my post.
Okay.
Can I just correct Mr. Singh? He says remdesivir is taken orally. It's actually given intravenously. So his first point is already made incorrect in that remdesivir is actually an intravenous drug.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
so the vaccine question that you asked, I would say that it has ingredients which are not.
You the link.
Oh, he's in call.
Okay.
Okay, Abid, you asked about the vaccine. So what
Yes.
my views about the vaccination is that the ingredients in the vaccine are not pro-health. Aluminium, glyphosate, formaldehyde, polysorbate 80, and mercury, thimerosal, and also it contains FBS, that is fetal bovine serum, which is the blood from the.
Which of the vaccines contains that? Because there's 6 vaccines that have been approved so far.
The AstraZeneca one.
Okay. So let's be specific about this, yeah?
Plus, this is mRNA vaccine. Dr. Carrie Madej, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Judy Mukovich, Dr. Rashid Buttar, and there are about hundreds of medical doctors, and the Great Barrington has about 50,000 doctors who have agreed that this vaccine is not safe and it is experimental. So I wouldn't be risking it. Now there's a GP in UK. There's a GP in UK. Just finishing my point. There's a GP in UK whose name was Vernon Coleman. He's written a book. Anyone who says that vaccine is safe and effective is lying. So you should read that book.
On that one point, yes, people are arguing. So 1 second, Jimo. People are arguing that 12 months is too short of a period of time to create a vaccine, and yet this doctor has written a book since January, and in his book he's stated that taking the vaccine is unsafe. I go back to my previous point: 1.3 million staff in the UK on the for the NHS. They've all deemed it fine. We haven't had I'm looking at all my platforms now. I've put it out there. Anybody that has had any adverse effect or lost a loved one, please come on. Shakil is about to come on, but unfortunately, your arguments don't seem to be convincing me.
It's okay.
Or my audience.
It's okay.
No, it's not a laughing matter. It's a very serious matter. I mean, you've used my platform to market your business, which it's called the business show, so I'm fine with that. But it's a bit cheeky when you don't give medical facts. I have respected medical professionals on my panel, and you haven't given us no substance.
No, Abid, Kamalpreet has his views, and that's absolutely fine. Everybody's entitled to their views. And Kamalpreet, in your reality, what you've said is true to yourself. But for us, give us some real facts, right? You're mentioning 1 or 2 medical professionals. then against that, there are hundreds of other medical professionals, if not thousands,
Yeah.
who argue against.
Discredited medical professionals.
So my point is, if there are hundreds of those medical professionals and you are lakhs and millions of them, then get on a live debate, bring those medical professionals, and let's see.
Thousands. We've got 2 here talking to you right now, so we don't.
We've got 2 here for you, sir.
Okay. So let's do one thing. The medical professionals on this debate, are you ready for a live debate on my show, on my YouTube platform with our doctors?
Can I just stop you there? Stop.
Right now.
You are no. Can I just intervene? You are using my platform to promote your own platform. So, my friend, goodbye. God bless. Excuse my French, but people like that really annoy me, looking for free publicity, and it's really frustrating because we are talking about a very sensitive and a serious topic, and I shall be having words with this chap because I'm fuming. Anyway, Shakil.
Interesting, Abid, that he mentioned Remdesivir, right? Yeah, and Dr. Hamaad gave him a very clear answer, and he didn't ever come back to it at all. And that's
Shakil, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning, and good morning, everybody. Salams, everybody. I hope you're all safe and well. And first of all, condolences and prayers to those who have already passed away, and those who are sick, and those who are dying. Definitely people are sick and people are dying. However, there's a lot of questions as to what are the issues, what are the causes, and what are the treatments, what is actually happening when people go into hospitals. There's a lot of questions about the test. Professor Kerry Mullis, who quite surprisingly died in August 2019, literally 2.5 months before the first cases or so-called cases were established in China in October, in the middle of October. It wasn't in December or January when the cases happened. They actually happened in October during the World Military Games. I'm a former soldier, so I keep an eye on military issues around the world. And the World International Military Games were held in Wuhan on my birthday on the 18th of October. And there were 5 cases of American soldiers who were needing to be treated for a very unusual illness that the Chinese authorities were struggling to deal with. So this thing was way before December. I was actually very unusually ill myself in January. I had an illness that,
if I could just,
what I wanted to do was just
now the whole COVID debate, we've been having that for the past 12 months. We know your views, and we totally respect your views. Today's show is about the vaccine, and it's a simple question: should we take the vaccine or not? And if we shouldn't, why?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, it's not a vaccine. It does not qualify. I've looked at the CDC. I've looked at the UK regulators' website as well for the definition of a vaccine. This does not qualify as a vaccine.
If I stop you right there. If I stop you right there. Doctors, Shakil says that the vaccine.
Well, can you let me finish my sentence?
I mean, let Shakil finish.
Let me finish. But a vaccine has got 2 main functions. One is to give you immunization. The government and the manufacturers have already stated there is no immunization. The second function is to prevent you from infecting others. They've already stated you cannot prevent infection of others. So I'm just wondering, why would I put my health at risk for an experimental gene therapy? Because that's what it is. It's a gene resequencing therapy. Why would I put myself at risk for that when I can take a course of vitamins? I mean, there's studies already now proven by major scientists and doctors. Norway's done it, the Canadians have done it, where you can take vitamin D, other vitamins, quercetin, and the results are absolutely amazing. There are doctors who are getting 100% recovery rates with those treatments. Why would I take something that's developed in less than 12 months? A vaccine typically takes 10 to 20 years. The fastest a vaccine has ever been produced is 7 years. Vaccine technology has been around 150 years. It's not a new thing, and I don't buy the bullshit that the advances in technology have enabled us to speed things up. That is a non-argument altogether. The reason why these vaccines take time is because we have to assess the long-term effects. First, they do animal studies, animal tests. all the animal tests have been totally skipped. There are no animal tests. The trial is happening now. And if you go on the website of the major manufacturers for these vaccines, it says the trials end in 2023. That means the people who are being experimented on now are the experiment. The people who are taking the jabs now are the experiment.
Okay, Dr. Hamaad.
Okay, like you take your point on board. So can you explain to me why is this vaccine being rolled out, and what do you think are the effects of this vaccine?
Well, I'm in a number of groups. I was in a group where there were about 100,000 people, and it wasn't a pro-vaccine or anti. It was just a vaccine report. It was a feedback group on Facebook. So there was nobody was allowed to push what they call conspiracy theories. It was simply
forget that group. What I'm asking you, why do you think that the government is rolling out this vaccine program, and what do you think the effects of this vaccine are? Clearly, you've done your research.
Well,
clearly, you can give me some answer. Why do you think they're rolling this out, and what effects do you think this vaccine is going to have, and why are you putting people off?
I tell you what, I'm putting people off because I've seen too many posts. I personally only know a few people because the circles that I mix in, they don't wear masks, they don't take tests. The people who are falling sick are the people who wear masks. People who take tests are the ones who wear masks. They're the ones who are adding to this epidemic.
I wear a mask, and I take tests, and I've not fallen sick.
Why is the government rolling this out, and what effects do you think this vaccine is going to cause? Just answer the question.
Money is a huge thing. There is a huge amount of money. Look, Bill Gates is a tremendously powerful man. He has governments running around his finger like this. Okay. Yeah. And money is a tremendous.
Please, let's deal with facts. Let's not deal with conspiracy theories. Shakil,
no.
I beg you.
So which conspiracy? So you're okay to support the official state-sponsored conspiracy theories?
Listen,
you've mentioned rumors, innuendo, no facts. Let me show us a fact. Amer asked you a really good question. What experience do you have, and the reasons why people should not be taking this vaccine? That's what we're here to debate. Look,
listen, let me explain that. Professor Mike Yeadon was the vice president of Pfizer.
10 years ago.
No, it doesn't matter. Okay. And he's still extremely active.
Sorry, I got
extremely active.
Sorry, Shakil, I didn't hear your full explanation because I got disconnected because of the 4G, 5G issue. So at the start of this pandemic, you were one of the leading voices when it came to 5G. And I remember I had a discussion with you on Facebook Live about the 5G. What happened to 5G?
You're not allowed to talk about it. Anybody who talks about it, posts about it, you post.
Nobody can stop you, Shakil. Nobody can stop you.
No, they can. On social media.
No,
if you post about it, you end up with your accounts blocked, and that happened to me multiple times. I've got warnings.
So
quite rightly, because it's complete misinformation.
Wait there, is 5G totally safe?
Of course it is. It's a radio wave. It's like the same as a radio, same as 4G. What basis?
Do you understand the damage of short millimeter waves that they do to the body? Let me explain something. I was in the military. I was an officer in the British military. My unit was an electronic warfare unit.
Okay. I think we're going off tangent here. We're supposed to be talking
we're not going off tangent because my question.
So Dr. Hamaad, in response to Shakil, with his reservations about the vaccine and why you shouldn't take it, and about Bill Gates and about all this, what would you, as a medical professional, respond to him?
So first thing, some of the misinformation he's been reading about, I just want to try and correct him on that. So he mentions the trial is being completed in 2023. In almost any clinical trial, the patient subjects who are being studied are followed up for a number of years to look and assess for long-term effects. When he says this vaccine has been rushed through, the reason they've managed to produce the vaccine so quickly is because they've managed to eliminate the red tape and the grant applications and all that other stuff that really delays the production of medications and vaccines. The real problems that companies like Pfizer have in getting products to market is the red tape that they have to go through. But because the pandemic had caused such a huge amount of devastation across the world, the government removed that red tape and said to them, "Here's the money. Please go and develop your vaccine, your treatments." Vaccines have to go through rigorous multiple phase clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You may have heard. It's only when you get to the later phases that actually the vaccines are tested on a limited number of healthy subjects and then tested on a broader range of subjects. So there's a huge amount of rigorous testing that's gone through, which then is peer reviewed. So the data itself that these vaccine manufacturers submit is what we go through a peer reviewed process where experts from across the world in that field will look at the data and see if the vaccine or the product is effective, is it safe, and is it worthy of being given to people by giving them the regulation through various departments. So European Medicines Agency, the US have their own official medical agency called the FDA. Similarly, the UK have the MRHA, the Medicines and Regulation Authority. Only through that rigorous testing process are products deemed safe. Unfortunately, there's a huge amount of misinformation, and the gentleman Shakil, the problem is he limits himself to a certain area and a certain number of groups which peddle the same myths that aren't actually fact-checked. None of these theories, conspiracy theories.
Can I just explain? Bill Gates funds the top 20 fact checkers, so your fact checkers are not particularly accurate. Jimmy, you can laugh. Just check it out.
I don't know what the hell I mean. I'm not laughing.
Bill Gates has invested. The BBC's received 20 million from Bill Gates.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked sometimes. And Shakil, I have a lot of respect for you, by the way. Just to say.
No, I love and respect you too, brother. You're a genuine gem in the community.
The thing is, Shakil, the thing is, by promoting certain opinions, certain views, it's very clear that the devastation that the community is suffering is beyond anything. We've 117,000 deaths. Okay, I take your argument that maybe not all of them are COVID. Maybe some of them are COVID related, but not as a direct result of COVID. But the vast majority are as a direct result of COVID.
Well, no. I mean that is a claim you cannot make.
Yeah, because it's in my last discussion with yourself, and this is myself and you, I asked you outright that what are people dying from, and you said that it's not COVID. Now, I cannot understand or comprehend how you come to this notion that there's no disease or no virus.
No. I didn't
COVID.
say there is no. I've never said there is no disease or no virus. I accept there is something killing people, and there is an issue out there. And even the CDC has openly these are things that get covered up that don't get pushed by the press because you've got to go into their complex website and find it. The CDC in the USA, who's the biggest health regulator, they said only 6% of their deaths were COVID, died off COVID. We've been getting headlines, die with COVID. You can take a test and die within 28 days of any cause, just like the Sikh gentleman from India spoke earlier.
And in our last discussion, we discussed this, and I totally take
and you will get a COVID. You will get a COVID. But that's been extended. Let me finish. That's now been extended to 60 days. I don't know of any other illness ever in history where that has happened. That's been allowed. And Dr. Scott Jensen came on TV openly stating that he is being pushed into issuing death certificates for literally every death. He's a US senator as well. So we take a lot of our lead from the USA. This is what happened. Most of the drug companies they were American based. We took our lead from the USA. We copied a lot of what the USA did. We then rushed out this gene resequencing therapy. It's an mRNA technology. It's never been used as a vaccination before for a corona flu virus, because coronavirus is a flu virus. It's one of the, and this COVID-19 is one of the 7 of the known flu families, the flu virus families. So why are we using an experimental technique that's been developed in less than a year? No animal testing. There's no explanation for animal. All we told me is it gets rid of the red tape. The red tape is irrelevant, insignificant. It's a red herring. What about the long-term side effects? People are going to find out in 10 years' time, and that's why vaccines take 10 to 20 years to make.
But Shakil, I'm not a medical professional, and I want you to remain impartial today. However, any medication you take has a side effect. I smoke. That has a side effect. Paracetamol has a side effect. Cancer treatment has a side effect.
But these are severe. The risk of these side effects. People have already died. People have left disabled.
If it was rolled out in January and we are now in the middle of February, I'm still to find somebody that's died. And I asked you last night to bring your person forward, right?
No, because he works in the NHS. He won't come forward. He'll lose his job. Okay.
They won't lose their job because if that's I find that ludicrous. I find
listen, I know 2 people. All 3 have gone viral. Okay, personally, I know 2. There's Dr. Muhammad Adil. He's a 35-year experienced surgeon. He made a video last summer that went viral all over the world. He openly stated, "Do not take the vaccine." He totally challenged everything.
Before the vaccine was produced, he told everybody not to take the vaccine.
No, the vaccine was being produced. It was already being researched. It was already been.
But he told him not to take it before it was out.
Absolutely, he did, because he's a 35-year experienced consultant. He's probably got more experience. He knew what was going to the vaccine, right? He obviously knew something. Well, he's been suspended. He was the head of 2.
He the only one in this worldwide conspiracy. Shakil, this is the point I don't get. Is there would be hundreds of thousands of people.
No, there won't, because most people.
7 billion people. There would be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people coming forward and saying this is absolute bullshit, right? Yeah, don't take it. It's a conspiracy. In an ideal world, but there is the Great Barrington Declaration. There's more than 100,000 signatories on the Great Barrington Declaration. These are people who want a totally different approach to the way things are done. At the moment, what we've got is are we locked off? No.
Okay, we've got a situation. We've got a situation where the healthy are being quarantined. Never in history before have healthy people been quarantined. We quarantine the sick, not the healthy. Everybody's on lockdown.
On the one point, I agree with you.
Shakil, do you not feel that by
we're talking about something other than the vaccine now? I agree with you. The mental health impact this lockdown has had, I know full well. I've talked about it. It is affecting everybody. My kids are suffering from it. All other people's kids are suffering from it as well. We cannot prolong this lockdown any longer than
suicide has gone through the roof. Now, you talk about the deaths. Nursing home deaths have gone through the roof. They have tripled. We had, I think, just in January, we had one of the news reports said 1,700 deaths in a day from nursing homes. That's what's not being reported. The nursing home residents, the inmates at nursing homes, have almost all been treated with this injection. The deaths are happening in the nursing homes, in the very elderly, the infirm, and the weak. Those people are already sick.
Shakil.
And we're ignoring the deaths.
All these issues aside, if we don't put a cap on this on this virus itself, these issues will continue, because you've got to accept and you've got to admit that people in our community have died. People that me and you know, people that all of us on this screen here know, and they've died of not a heart attack, not a stroke, not diabetes. They've actually died of COVID. How can you deny that? I just don't understand that. How can you say?
I'm not. Listen, I'm not.
What about these so-called gagged medical NHS staff who've also been dying? What about them?
How many medical?
They've been gagged. They've been
wait. In the early days, we were told about a young nurse down south in Hertfordshire who died. It turns out that was a lie. She didn't die of COVID. She had other issues, totally other issues, and she wasn't even of COVID. What the media were doing was spinning lies. The media are very, very good at spinning lies. Again, when we talk about, listen, we're just going around in circles here. I'm going off tangent. The media are lying, totally fine.
117,000 deaths. Okay.
So we're told. But if you look at the, we you know what? Listen, we're told we're in this deadly pandemic.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. There is at least 20 mutual contacts that me and you both know that have died. Yeah, at least 20, probably more, but at least 20. Now, they were COVID deaths, were they not?
I don't know if all of them were COVID. Right?
You've been to 3-4 funerals, Shakil Chauhan. Did you not go to COVID death funerals?
I did, and I've also been to funerals where the families are absolutely distressed because they've got COVID death certificates when they know they weren't, including relatives of my own. 2 of my own relatives, we knew there was no COVID death. They had other issues.
So you do accept the fact that COVID exists. Now, when you're promoting the negativity and when you're encouraging people to go against the grain and go against the guidelines and the government policy, do you not feel that you're somewhat responsible for people getting infected and as a result dying?
No, because this gene therapy treatment is going to be resulting in side effects. The deaths.
But so is taking a paracetamol giving you side effects.
Paracetamol's been around for decades.
Having a can of Red Bull gives you side effects. It gives you wings. You know, I mean, that's Shakil. Come on, everything you eat. Having a cigarette gives you side effects, right?
You need to stop smoking.
What are the side effects of this vaccine? Can you explain that to me now, please? You've done your research. I just want to know where you feel are the side effects of this vaccine.
Well, I told you one of the people that a couple of the people that I've spoken to and come across, that people are suffering Bell's palsy. It's Bell's palsy. Sorry, not Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy. There's lots of cases of that. There's in the USA in particular, and it's the same drug that we're using here. The VAERS reporting system. There were literally loads. The adverse reaction rate was 2.78%. The recovery rate for coronavirus, for COVID-19, is 99.97%. So why would I not rely on my immune system?
What about all these millions and millions of people who had the vaccine? Where are these people with these side effects in the UK? Why have they not come forward?
Because they've only just as far as I know, they only just implemented the same reporting system. It's now live. There is a reporting system that's gone live. I don't think it was there from the beginning in December, but I know I've got the link to it, so I can post that afterwards. I can't do it now whilst I'm on my phone, but I have got the link for the reporting system. Now, I was speaking to an NHS worker who had the jab. He was told he'll only have side effects for 48 hours. He messaged me, didn't ring me. He messaged me the other day. I actually posted the screenshots of that message in the chat yesterday, Abid, and you saw that, I think, where he's petrified at the risk of dying. I've told him, no, you're young, you're under 30, you're not going to die. And he told me
I must confess, I struggled with those screenshots you sent me yesterday because, number one, the name is hidden.
I had to hide the name. Number two, to show his name.
Number two, you are no medical professional. Why are they coming to you? And number three, why don't they come on the show? I don't understand.
Because
if their employers try to sack them, then I'm sure we have enough following between the both of us.
We've got Neela Mafzal watching today, and she can represent them as well.
Yeah,
she's an employment lawyer. I find that ludicrous. I really do. I mean, the amount of people on this feed now, if we collectively joined our following together, we could take on the NHS. And I put out another post this morning on my social media.
If there's a genuine conspiracy, Shakil, if there was a genuine thing, I would be the first to back you, right? Yeah. The point I'm trying to make.
I told you, I know 3 people who've lost their jobs. One was Dr. Adil. Another friend of mine is Louise Hampton, who's down south. She's the one whose video went viral where she sat in her car. She received a certificate.
If you maliciously, if one of my staff maliciously started accusing my company of certain things and unfounded accusations, I would sack them as well. And I'm sure you would as well, being a business leader. I'm sure you would do the same thing. No company or organization is going to allow anybody to maliciously taint their brand.
Listen, the NHS has paid out £200 million since 2008 in compensation to people they've wrongly sacked. Okay, so it happens. It doesn't. People don't want to lose their livelihoods right now. Try finding a job, and if you're known as a whistleblower and as a trouble causer, nobody's
okay.
Well, okay. So basically, I'm gonna have to conclude because we have gone for quite a while. Dr. Rahul, I think we've lost the other GP. Dr. Rahul, how would you conclude, and what would your advice be to the viewers and to particularly the BEN community who may be a bit reluctant to take the vaccine? Our elderly parents, our grandparents, our uncles and aunties, and our youngsters. What would your advice be to them about the vaccine?
First of all, Shakil, thank you for coming on. And I think
thank you.
Let's all kind of remind ourselves we're not here to disprove one another, but we're here really to kind of address some of the some of the I'll call them myths because I'm obviously on the other side of the fence, but some of the myths which are going around social media. So
I'm sorry, I must butt in here. This Kamalpreet Singh is coming out with comments, but after his performance on the panel,
saying these
I'm sorry, I have to publicly discredit him because because it's just these doctors are exposing their level of ignorance. Well, these doctors are medical professionals who've done the studying, who've got the degrees and have got the experience. So they're not really ignorant. They actually seem to know what they're talking about. Right, Dr. Rahul, sorry.
This is an ideological reasoning, isn't it, that they put across their core beliefs. So if that's his belief, then it's fine, no problem.
I think just a few key messages. I think one of the concerns which people have is, how has this vaccine come around so quickly? So in a nutshell, as Dr. Ali said earlier on, a lot of I guess maybe we should be asking the question, how come in the past things have taken so many years? And I think actually going forward, this will change the way that new medicines and new vaccines will actually be released. The time span will just completely shorten. But because funding was not an issue, getting research experts onto the panel was not an issue. And also when you're in the kind of study phase, you kind of set endpoints. When X number of people have had this endpoint, then we unfold the study, unblind the study and have a look. But because there are so many cases of COVID developing, we reach that endpoint very, very quickly, much quicker than any other kind of trial. And these are the reasons why we've been able to get to this point much more quickly than in the past. Second of all, the vaccine is safe. And third of all, it works, okay? I think one of the questions was, if I've had the vaccine, why do I still need to stay at home? Why do I need to wear a mask and so forth? Because as well as protecting yourself, you have a responsibility to protect other people, okay? Because not everybody has had the vaccine as yet. So just because you've had the vaccine, it doesn't give you a license to go out and lead a normal life, because there are other still exposed and vulnerable people out there. It is halal. So look, in a nutshell, like I said, we're not here to force anybody. Our position is always to help people make informed decisions. And that's the information I'm giving, that the vaccine is safe, it works, and it will play a big role in us all getting back to leading a normal life.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dr. Rahul. Jimi, parting words.
My parting words are, there are clear choices out there. There's education out there. Listen to your doctors. If you have any fears, speak up and ask the right questions. If after you've got the answers, you still don't want to take the vaccine, don't do it. It's your freedom of choice to do that. You don't have to. There will be a level of herd immunity eventually that will protect you anyway, but it's your choice.
Fantastic. Shakil?
My advice is remember that you have a God-given immune system. Feed your body well, your body will look after you. We were designed not to go extinct. We were designed and created to fight diseases naturally. You have an immune system, use that. Look up the doctors who are speaking up. Look up people like Professor Dolores Cahill. Look up people like Dr. Vernon Coleman, Dr. Andy Kaufman, Professor Mike Yeadon. Look up people like Dr. Rashid Buttar. These are people who are talking a totally different story, and they are warning people of the dangers with this totally rushed gene resequencing therapy. It's totally artificial. And by the way, when you talk about, is there
Thank
something
you, Shakil.
that is...
Thank you, Shakil. Thank you, Shakil.
Okay.
Ahmed, parting words?
No, I concur with Dr. Rahul and Jimmy. Shakil, I totally respect everything you say. I understand that, you know, you want to put across your views. That's perfectly fine. Having lost a loved one and living in a community, seeing people passing away, not just my own father, but many, many people in my community, I can say that this is a pandemic that we're in. I don't want to be in a lockdown the next 12 months. I want to get out of the lockdown. If this is a way out of it, and, you know, people are sort of in a way of maybe getting better, then I'm all for it. And I think that, you know, I don't really like to see posts on social media putting people off getting the vaccine. We are out there promoting for people to get it because people are getting a lot of misinformed information. Shakil, I understand some of your information I do agree with. Majority of it I don't, sorry. But this is why we're here. We're here to campaign against our communities to get out of this pandemic and hopefully get back to some sort of normality. And Abid, thank you for having this debate.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And you know what? Many, many thanks to our panel. I know it's Sunday. I know it's Valentine's Day. I know you have plans. But many, many thanks. And Dr. Hamaad, who had to leave early, thank you to yourself, Jimmy. Dr. Rahul, thank you. Sunday morning, I appreciate it. Amer and Shakil, thank you. And Kamalpreet. Thank you for tuning in, viewers. Take from the show what you will. We have done our best to present you the case for and against. Bear in mind, 15 million vaccines will be administered as of tomorrow morning. 500,000 will have had their second vaccine. There's a lot of information out there, some ethical, some unethical, some authentic, some unauthentic. Do your research, but whatever you do, keep safe, keep tuned, and we look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week with another fantastic guest.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks.